I'm going to try to keep this together and keep it within the boundaries, but I know I'm going to break the boundaries. In life, you know, sometimes you got to break the boundaries. Look, I try to be as rational, reasonable, and even scientific as possible. But you know what? I realize that you can't be scientific all the time. I think if you ever run into somebody who's absolutely logical and rational and reasonable and scientific and everything else, you know, I had somebody, you know, and I know that that person occasionally watches my videos and he's not going to say anything. You know, he unsubscribed from me. And yeah, I know who you are. You know, I'm not going to say. But he got upset because basically I wouldn't change. I wouldn't change. I'm a person who believes that science is a wonderful thing. But I don't believe it's everything. And I don't think you have to look at everything in the world from a scientific perspective. And always look at everything scientifically. Even Einstein said that it would be silly to think about things that way all the time. Science is a certain pursuit of things. And in science, what you do is you try to eliminate biases about things. But you know what? In everyday life, all of us are going to be biased. Let's get real. One thing that I have come to the conclusion of in life is you cannot eliminate bias. It can't ever be gotten rid of. And it's not even necessarily something that we should get rid of. But what you can do is in certain situations, when you sit down and think about something, you can temporarily suspend your bias. You know, it's just like when you're watching a movie, for example. That's exactly what you're doing. You're kind of, like if I'm watching a movie of some events that take place 300 years ago, you know, I don't sit there and think, oh my God, they didn't have cameras back then. How could they film this? How could this be possible? How could they, you know, no, you temporarily suspend your present situation. Your ideal that everything has to be absolutely realistic, which I should put in quotation marks, realistic. You have to temporarily suspend that and then say, wait a minute, that's not Abraham Lincoln, that's Liam Neeson. No, that's Abraham Lincoln, you know, that's whatever, you know. He's supposed to be making a movie, by the way, about Lincoln, although I don't know where that's coming, when that's coming. The thing is that you have to temporarily suspend your judgments about things and kind of go with a suggestion. And then later on you can step out of that. In science, you kind of suspend any kind of bias about the outcome of an experiment. You just want to see what is going to happen. But sometimes you do experiments and you do want things to turn out a certain way. You might want to find out if a certain thing would cure cancer. And you want it to work that way. But you suspend any kind of bias about it for a moment. And you do it. But let's talk about other things such as racial bias. Everybody has a bias. And when it comes to race or culture or language or educational things, we all do it. And we can deny it. We can say, oh, I don't have a bias. We all do. We tend to favor that which is similar to what we either have or do. But you can temporarily suspend that when it comes to making a judgment. You can look at someone's credentials. You can look at someone's qualifications. Are they qualified for this job? You can do that and look only at this. Forget everything else. Forget what color that person is, how tall they are, how old they are, how young they are. And do they meet the qualifications? And you may say, yes, okay, then this is the person I'm going to hire. But even if that person, if you're a person who's biased toward, let's say me being black, I'm biased toward hiring a black person. But the person who's most qualified happens to be white. I'm going to pick that person. This is all hypothetical. You know, sometimes you just have to do that in life. You have to make those decisions. You have to find ways of temporarily suspending your bias and looking at it from a different perspective. That's one thing that we can do willfully. We can willfully choose to look at things from a different perspective, to think about it differently. You know, if you're going to hire somebody for a job or to do something, you don't go, well, this person is an atheist, I'm not going to hire him. This person is a Catholic, I'm not going to hire him. well, this person is a Buddhist, she's not getting in this job. No. Look at the qualifications. That's what you do. You have to learn sometimes that, yeah, to apply something of science in life, to be unbiased. But other times in life, I am biased. I like cars that are red, for example. I like subcompact cars. Somebody said, you should get a big, giant car. No, that's what you like. That's your bias. Biases aren't necessarily racial. They could be for preferences for things being a certain way, whatever. I like the cheesy puffs, whatever, over the, other things. But it's just something, I'm just rambling on about that, but that's just something I wanted to say.